Hi everyone, thanks for taking the time to see this video on driving lessons Cork.ie. Today we're going to be speaking about the topic of sponsoring a learner driver. So let's get to it. Now, sponsoring a learner driver. What does that exactly mean? Well, if you go onto the Road Safety Authority website that we have here on rsa.ie, and if you go down to driver training, click on that. That will bring you onto the driver training page of the Road Safety Authority's website. And now if you click on car driver training, specifically to do with A.D.I, which is the essential driver training process for car drivers in Ireland. And then if you click on information for sponsors, it defines that a sponsor is an experienced driver who accompanies a learner driver in their driving practice sessions. Now, sponsors are often family members or often are close friends of learner drivers. That's what a sponsor is. Now, generally speaking, the learner will nominate the driver to help them with their driving. And if you're asked to give someone a hand practicing with their driving between driving lessons, then you should give it good consideration. If you choose to go and be a sponsor for somebody who wants to learn to drive, you should first of all maybe decide to ask them what type of practice would they like you to do with them. Pick a suitable time and place to do that practice with the learner driver, and make sure it's a quiet place to do that initial practice with the learner driver. I'm not sure if you know, but learner drivers are supposed to do 3 hours of driving practice before they come for their essential driver training lessons with a professionally approved driving instructor. Now, when you do this practice with a learner driver, you are taking on an important role. As it says here under driver responsibilities, you must show interest in the learner driver's progress, encourage them at all times, assure them that they can rely on your experience in different road situations, and reinforce that safe driving takes lots of persistence, patience, and practice. Indeed, it is a lifelong learning process. Not only do they do their initial driving lessons, pass the driving test, but one is driving for the rest of one's life. So one is always learning as they go along new things about driving. There's always new aspects to driving that come about every so often. For example, self-drive cars are apparently on the way. Who knows? Now, when you take on the job as a sponsor and you've decided to do the practice and you go and do the practice with the person, the learner driver, try and stay calm and patient with them. If the learner driver senses that, their sponsor is quite nervous and, for example, a little bit agitated in the passenger seat beside them, it will also affect the learner driver. And they will, in turn, possibly get nervous and anxious as well. So try and stay as calm and patient as you can with them. when you're doing the driving practice with them. Okay, you've already, as I said, asked them what practice they would like to do, and hopefully you're not practicing in too busy an area. A nice quiet area to start off with the initial 3 hours of driving practice before they go to their essential driver training lessons with an approved driving instructor. And where you go with for these initial hours should not be at all in any way busy. And if you just do stopping and starting with them in the car, that's a great start. Even just something as basic as stopping and starting the car, that will give them a good start, before they start doing their essential driver training lessons with an approved driving instructor. Now, what is a good idea too, and it refers to it here, is that as a sponsor, you should work with the approved driving instructor as well. As it says here, work with the A.D.I, which is the approved driving instructor. Have a chat with them, before the essential driver lessons start with the learner-driver. You can either ring them up or meet them face to face. As a driving instructor myself, I love to speak to people who are sponsoring people when they are learning to drive, but unfortunately it doesn't happen too often. But it's good to get the other side of the story as well, and give my side of the story. It's good to talk, in other words, Now, as a sponsor too, when you do start, or when the learner does start the professional driving lessons with an approved driving instructor, you have to fill in their logbook the learner driver gets from the approved driving instructor after you do some practice with the learner driver. The logbook, as it states here, records details of any practice undertaken by the learner outside of the professional driving lessons. So that's an important tool as well for a driving instructor to see that after an A.D.I lesson, that when the practice is done with the learner driver in between the essential driver training lessons, that there is a progression there and a bit of practice done between lessons. So, folks, that now generally is what I want to show you this evening about the sponsor. Okay, I'll put this link in the description of the video below for you to have a look at, and do drop a comment below in the description of this video if you have any further queries for me on this topic of being a sponsor for a learner driver. So folks, thanks again for looking at the video, and if you like the video, please do click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Until we make our next video, thanks very much. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.